So if the input impedance is less, then the more current will inject into the circuit, and while coming to the output side, we have to increase the impedance such that our I naught becomes is equal to I. Okay, so like that the input impedance must be less such that the max amount of current will inject into the circuit, and it will be faced by few amplification inside the circuit, and after amplification we have to get the I naught is equal to I, so such that the output impedance must be high, then the amplified signal again will come back to the same as the input current. So that's why input impedance must be less and output impedance must be high. So here the third option is the correct one for the good current buffers. If it is a voltage buffer, then common collector configuration or else emitter follower. Anyhow, both these two are same. So common collector configuration is a good example for the voltage buffer. So voltage buffer means V0 is equal to Vi, right? That means output voltage is equal to input voltage. So to get the output voltage and input is equal to input voltage, the input impedance must be high and the output impedance must be less. Then it is the option. Okay, option second is correct for the voltage buffer. Why? Because while coming to the common collector configuration, what are the input terminals we are going to take? Collector is the common, and base and collector at the input side, collector and emitter are at the output side, right? So base and collector are at the input side means we have to reverse bias the base and collector, and we have to forward bias the emitter junction. So if we reverse bias the collector base junction, then automatically the input impedance is high, then emitter junction is forward biased, right? So if we forward bias the emitter junction, then emitter is at the output side. So for the forward biasing case, we are going to get the low output impedance. That means high to low. So high input impedance to low output impedance is the best example. When it is the case, we have to satisfy for the good voltage buffer, and the opposite case has to satisfy for the good current buffer. Like that also you can remember. And while coming to the next eighth question, in which of the following configurations Miller effect capacitance is not a contributing concern for high frequency applications? So Miller effect capacitance means generally all these capacitances are the nothing but internal capacitance. That means if you take the BJT, let's take it is emitter and base and collector. So for low frequencies there are no internal capacitance effects, but for high frequencies the internal capacitance will comes into the action. Internal capacitance means in between the emitter and base junction one capacitor will come, that is called as a C suffix Cb, and in between the collector and base one capacitance will occur, that is called as C suffix Cb, and in between the emitter and the collector here one capacitance will form, that is nothing but a C suffix Ce. So all these are the internal capacitances which happens in between the junctions of the transistor, and all this parasitic capacitance effect is nil at the low frequency applications, but all this parasitic capacitance will comes into the action and it disturbs your original operation when for the high frequency applications. That means whenever the input signal we are connecting to the BJT, if the input signal frequency is very high, then automatically this parasitic capacitances comes into the action, right? So now the Miller effect capacitance means, say it is a thing that I want to show you. Here the CBC is there. CBC is nothing but the parasitic capacitance which occurs in between the capacitor and the base, right? So this capacitance is called as a Miller capacitance, right? So the Miller capacitance happens between the collector and base junction. So that means here whatever the collector and base junction capacitance I took here, so C suffix Cb is nothing but a Miller capacitance. So in this Miller capacitance, while coming to the CE configuration, see the capacitance occurs between the collector terminal and the base terminal. So whenever the high frequency input signals are applied, so it is the high frequency response of the common emitter amplifier. So whenever the high frequency signals are applied to the input of this common emitter configuration, then what happens is that whatever the capacitances which are connected to the ground, that will not affect. So while coming to here, that I will clear that point at the end of this concept. First let's focus on this one. So if the input signal frequency is very high, right? Now the parasitic capacitances comes into action. So one of the parasitic capacitance is the capacitance which is connected between the collector and base. Fine. So here the collector terminal is not directly connected to grounded and the base terminal is not directly connected to grounded. So now what happens is that whatever the output voltage is there, that is coming from the whatever the collector current that is coming from here, that divides into the two parts. That means this capacitor will act as a feedbacking thing to this common emitter configuration, feedbacking, right? And which type of feedback it provides? Negative feedback it provides. So whenever the negative feedbacking it is providing, then automatically the input signal going to the base of the transistor will definitely decrease, and it affects the output voltage such that the gain of this entire CE amplifier will decrease. Right? Actually, we are expecting the more current gain from the CE amplifier, but in the high frequencies, this capacitance comes into action. Whenever this capacitance comes into action, and then it just acts like a negative feedbacking part. Whenever the negative feedbacking is happening, some portion of the output will comes back to the base of the input with 180 degrees phase shift, which is called as a negative feedback, and decreases the input signal that is going to the base terminal of the transistor. Whenever the input signal is decreased, whenever the IB is decreased, then automatically IC also decreases, because IC is equal to beta into IB. Whenever the IB decreases, then automatically IC also decreases. So whenever the IC decreases, then the voltage drop across the RC or the output voltage also decreases. It leads to decrease in the voltage gain. That means the Miller capacitance will show impact in the common emitter configuration. But our question is, Miller effect capacitance is not a contributing concern for a high frequency applications. For which type of configuration? So definitely it is a wrong answer. Why? Because common emitter configuration is severely affected by the Miller effect capacitance. Fine. Now we have to find out whether it is common base. Emitter follower is also nothing but a common collector configuration, or else both the CB and the CC. Okay, that we have to find out. So while coming to the common base configuration or common collector configuration, here you can see that the Miller concept. That means if you take the common base, see, let's take it is the common base. So where C suffix CB, that is a parasitic capacitance between the collector and base junction. It is a collector and it is a base junction. In the common base, the base terminal is grounded, right? So the capacitance occurs in between both these two. The other terminal of the capacitor is also grounded. So whenever any one of the terminal of this capacitor is grounded, either base or the collector, then it won't show any type of impact on the gain of the circuit. Fine. It is a case of the common base. And if you take the common collector configuration, the collector terminal is grounded. That means in this capacitance, the collector terminal is grounded. So whenever the collector terminal is grounded, then this part of the capacitor is grounded. Then it won't show any type of impact. Right? Why? Because it won't create the feedbacking system. Whenever the one terminal of the C suffix CB is grounded, it won't create any kind of feedbacking system, just like in the common emitter configuration. See, here both these two are connected. That's why it is showing the negative feedbacking thing. That's why it is affecting the gain. If any one of the point, either this one is grounded or this one is grounded, then it won't show the feedbacking system, right? Then it won't affect the gains. So that's why here the correct answer to this one is both common base and emitter follower configurations will not be affected by the Miller effect capacitance in the high frequency application. So it is the correct answer. Now while coming to the 9th question, for an RC phase shift oscillator, the following statements are cited. So if it is an oscillator, then which type of feedback we have to provide? Positive feedback, right? And the gain is also positive. So the amplifier gain is positive. And the positive feedbacking means how much phase shift difference we have to maintain, 0 degrees or the 360 degrees. So 0 or 360. So both B and C are the correct options, and A and D are the correct options for the amplifiers. So B and C are correct options for the oscillators. So here B and C are the correct. So option 4th one is the correct one for this phase shift oscillator. And while coming to the RC phase shift oscillator, how many RC networks we are having? 3 number of RC networks, and all these 3 RC networks are connected in feedbacking part, and each and every RC network will provide 60 degrees phase shift. So each and every RC network is providing 60 degrees phase shift, means how many RC networks will provide? 3. So 60 into 3, what is the total phase shift we are giving here? 180 degrees. So 180 degrees phase shift will be given by the feedbacking thing, or else 3 RC phase shift networks, and the remaining 180 degrees phase shift will provided by the CE configuration of the transistor. Now 181 plus 180 becomes is equal to 360. So it is a case of the RC phase shift oscillator. So it is a correct answer. So coming to the next question, 10th one. So list 1 and list 2 is given, so we have to match up properly which one is correct to the which one. So first one is a ripple factor. As I told, the ripple factor is nothing but root of IRMS by IDC whole square minus 1. So that means the ripple factor matches up with the 2. Okay, that means A is 2, and while coming to the B, ripple factor of L section filter. So L section filter ripple factor formula is this one. That is root 2 by 3 into 1 divided by 2 omega C into 2 omega L. In some textbooks, they will mention that root 2 by 12 omega square LC. Both these two are same, right? Root 2 by 12, 2 to 4, 4 into 3, 12. So omega into omega, omega square, L into C. Okay. So here the B is matched up with the third one. And ripple factor of the induction filter. Induction filter ripple factor is this one. Okay, so C is matched up with the 1, and percentage of regulation is directly you can identify that the percentage of regulation means into 100%. Okay, so fourth one, you have to remember these formulas. No need to remember and no need to practice the derivations of all this one as per the UGC NET exam. You have to only remember the formulas. That's enough. And while coming to the 11th question, some analog devices are listed below: transistor in CE, CB, CC, and operational amplifier. So select the right option about the current gain of this device in the descending order. Descending order means increasing to biggest one to the least one. It is a descending order. So biggest one means out of the given options we have to find out. That means out of the ABCD we have to find out which one is having the highest current gain. So you have to identify. So which one is having the highest current gain out of all these two? If you speak in ideal case, out of all these four, which one is having the infinity current gain? Op-amp, right? So definitely the first option must be D. But here how many first options D are there? Total 3 options are there, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So after the D, then out of the configurations of the BJT, which one provides the best current gain? Common emitter configuration, right? So that is beta. Okay, so common emitter configuration will provide the best gain out of these 3. As I already provide one tabular format based upon the comparisons of all the 3 different types of configurations, which includes comparison of the input impedance, output impedance, current gain, voltage gain, all these things. So you have to follow that, remember the tabular format very carefully, because definitely 90% is the probability of getting the chance from the table or the comparison among these ones. So after the D, next one is the A. So only one option is there. So here the third option is the correct one for this 11th question. And coming to the next 12th question. The ideal value of supply voltage rejection ratio of an op-amp is. That means you have to understand what is the supply voltage rejection ratio. Supply voltage rejection ratio means generally if you take the operational amplifier, then we will be having the schematic diagram like this. One is the inverting, second one is a non-inverting, and it is plus VCC, and it is minus VCC, and it is the output voltage, right? So out of this pins of this operational amplifier, what are the power supplies here? It is a positive supply and it is a negative supply, right? So here the output voltage has to change based upon the input voltages only, right? It should not change based upon these power supplies. But while coming to the operational amplifier, if the power supplies are changing, then it affects the output voltage also. It is called as a voltage rejection ratio. That means what exactly means that? The first point is, in the operational amplifier, if I change the power supply, it affects the output voltage. But it should not be done. It is not the correct way. Okay. Even though if we change the power supply, the output voltage should not change. Why? Because the output voltage has to depend only upon the input voltages, right? So the SVRR, that is supply voltage rejection ratio, can be given as variation of output voltage based upon the power supply. Okay, variation of the output voltage based upon the variation of the power supply. It is nothing but a formula to the supply voltage rejection ratio. That means it is a ratio between both these two. So this variation must be there or not. Actually, this variation is not to be happen practically, right? That means what is the ideal value of this one? 0. That means the variation must be null. So first one is the correct.